It does help.
Yo, oh, you can hear me. Okay,
Almost
we're
a
gonna
James. Yeah, sorry.
we're gonna call the meeting to order. It's 3:00. Welcome, everyone. We are recording on YouTube, so that has started, and we'll go ahead and call the roll.
Longstreet.
Here.
McCaffrey.
Here.
Belknap. Bush.
Here.
Greenlee.
Here?
Hill.
Here.
Allison Udema.
Here.
Jim Udema. Stats.
Here.
Okay, I know Jim and Kelly are out of town and Roger is on his way, so we do have a quorum and we'll get started. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? I don't think so. Okay. Then we will move on to the approval of minutes from our previous meeting. Should have that in your packet. I have a motion.
So moved?
Support?
Okay, thanks, guys. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Yep. Oh, no, Joe.
Bush. Sorry, Joe.
I'm in there.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Do we have, we did have one communications regarding the Muscatawa Trail in our packet. Any comments or questions about that? Jason, anything?
A question had recently come up about that, and it was good to share with the whole group.
Yeah.
So just wanted to pass it along.
Great. Looking forward to that.
I know one bicycle rider who is happy.
Yep.
I'll bet
I
there's
know
more
someone
than
else
one.
that's very happy too.
Yep. All right.
So the timeline, right, the timeline's still not 100% finalized, but it looks like they're coming really close to finalizing the engineering plans. The focus will be on kind of our section in Ottawa County. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's
If
nice.
I may, I'm
What's
sorry,
that?
if I may ask a question on that, is just for, or maybe a clarification. So the Parks Commission maintains the portion in Ottawa County, correct?
Yes, through spring through fall.
Spring through
Then
fall, okay.
It doubles as a snowmobile trail then.
Okay.
In the winter time, if there is, so.
If
And
there
you
is
should
none.
maybe say manage, right? We do minor maintenance, but anything major, the state is supposed to do.
And that's a partnership with the DNR on that, is that how that? And then Muskegon County takes care of the Muskegon portion?
I believe that DNR now manages Muskegon
Okay.
on. And then there's a snowmobile trail association. that does the winter.
And I'm almost positive this agreement has been in place since the trail was constructed, right, in the early 90s.
We've had a draft of a revised version from DNR that we just put on hold until we see the construction complete. So we want to make sure that, right, when we agree to the
Maybe his mic.
when we agree to manage and operate the trail, that it's done we know what's going to be there. So versus a crushed stone trail or something else. So.
And is that a 10-foot wide, or is it wider than 10 feet? I'm trying to remember.
I think it's wider than 10 feet in some spots, 12, yeah.
12 feet or so. Oh.
There we go.
Literally tuning in from.
Yeah, awesome, thank you.
Yep.
I got a follow-up as well.
Me too.
So the agreement's been in place for management, but funding obligation has always been the state's. So they have a timeline. They mentioned a timeline for the other sections. What is the plan for ongoing funding to ensure that the trail doesn't get as dilapidated as it has over time?
I think that is one of the questions we will ask when we renew the agreement, right? So I think the timing was
was aligned with some of the state's influx of federal money and ARPA money. So we've seen improvements around the state, various trails and parks. So I think right, we would want to have that conversation long term.
Be nice if they put some of that funds into a pot for maintenance. It's their obligation. So.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I ask
and-
a quick question
Yep,
too?
sure.
Jason, do you know what is our responsibility between spring and fall? Are we trimming the stuff along that grows into the path, or what are?
Pretty much everything. I mean, it's operating the trail. I mean, I would say things like filling potholes, trimming, mowing, blowing leaves. So we have staff who regularly are out there patrolling the trail.
Okay.
So
Pretty much everything except for what we're looking forward to is having the repaving.
major,
it.
right, maybe more of a major renovation or reconstruction. So what we did was if you guys recall, with the management agreement we did with Port Sheldon Township, we defined a financial threshold. So we took care of stuff that is more day-to-day in the realm. And then if something like there's a big washout and a whole section would need to be replaced, we would hopefully be able to rely on the state to help us with that. So.
Plus the horses and snowmobiles. I don't know if horses, what kind of impact they have, if any, on the asphalt, but except for, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Stuff that's easily removed. But the snowmobiles, I don't know if they cause any damage to the surface either. And who's ultimately responsible for that too, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a state trail.
yeah,
We just
it's a
happen
state
to have
trail.
a
And
small.
we also participated though and helped, I believe, we were heavily involved in the construction of that. And so we do own at least one of the trailheads. So we're heavily invested as well. Yeah.
But I believe the snowmobile club who manages it in the winter, they're the ones who determine when there's
Okay.
enough snow to open it. But yes, I think it has been damaged previously, like what snowmobiles do, basically scrapes and stuff.
That was one of the things that has delayed this process. Is it's more expensive to repave because it has to be up to a standard to handle snowmobiles. So I think it was like double the asphalt, Jill told me. So that was one of the challenges.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we will move on. Public comment, welcome to anyone who's attending either in person or via our YouTube station. Do we have anyone who would like to make a comment in the audience? Okay, if you're online or if you're watching via YouTube, you can contribute comments via the chat function. So that's available to you as we go on. And I think after the fact too, Jessica? Yep, so even after we're finished, and if you're watching this after the fact, feel free to make a comment in the chat. All right, we will move on to staff reports, starting with director's report. Jason.
So I did include some of the information on the J.H. Campbell decommissioning. So we continue to work with the township and consumers and make progress on the natural features inventory. And we included the community survey and open house summary. So back late spring, early summer, there was an open house. So just some feedback there. We have, there's an open house scheduled yet this month at the J.H. Campbell site. We're still collaborating with DNR on future operations of that, including the boat launch. And then we're working, Paul's helped us steward a group to look at monitor the water quality of the lake and the river. So I think we have initial meeting on that in the next couple weeks scheduled. So, but happy to answer any questions on anything in the report.
Any questions for Jason? Allison?
Or just a comment. I really appreciate the information being shared. I thought it was really neat to read the feedback that was provided. I thought that was pretty in-depth feedback that came through, and it seemed like a majority of residents are very interested towards preserving some of the land as far as its natural beauty and parks, and I really appreciate you sharing. So thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on to the park operations report. And I know Jason Berger is gone, so Jeremy, it looks like you're going to do that.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So Jeremy Cook, I'm the Lakeshore Parks Supervisor, so cover the west side. I'll do my best to answer any questions on the park operations report that you have. Do want to talk about Lakeshore a little bit, though. As you probably all know, we're another record year in terms of revenue, about 630,000 plus in terms of motor vehicle permit sales, which actually was a surprising number for me, just seeing anecdotally. In June, if you remember, it was kind of a washout with the weekends. Not a whole lot of park usage, not great beach weather. But when the weather cleared in July, they definitely came out to visit us. I told the staff on, I think it was the July 13, Saturday after the 4th, was probably like, with the addition of Wind's Nest and Cow Parks recently, I think that was probably like the busiest day in the history of the Lakeshore Parks. It was just, we were at full capacity. It was a lot of fun. The other thing too is with usage, Kirk Park did fill up about 3-4 times this year, their parking lot. That's the first time we've had that happen since the high water washed out the Dog Beach stairs. So that was definitely a positive. Great usage of that park with the Dog Beach. Such a huge risk. I mean, we're the only beach in Ottawa County that can bring your dog, have them off leash, legally, and so we got so much praise there to allow that service. So definitely very happy about that. The other thing I want to talk about was staffing. With the realignment with the pay scale to the beginning of the season, staffing this year was, I've been with the county for 5 years. It was the best we've had in 5 years. Our candidate pool was probably about more than double than what we had last year in terms of the applicants I was able to select from. We didn't have any turnover at the beginning of the season. Usually I lose 2 to 3 staff members at the beginning of the season. Either they find something else that didn't think this is what they wanted to do, but they stuck around. I think it was really the pay that kind of was like, hey, I'm gonna stick this through. So definitely a positive swing there, and a lot of appreciation for myself and from the folks obviously working that. And then speaking of staffing, I do have Paul Hearn and Ben Page here. I want to recognize them. So Paul, raise your hand there. But Paul is he's a seasonal park supervisor, works usually the afternoon shift. So he's helping me with training and coaching and mentoring and leading the park staff. And he's usually the first point of escalation when I'm not there. So he's handling everything from a clogged toilet to helping a park user follow the rules. So he's definitely a right-hand man, and greatly appreciated. And then Ben is the marina supervisor. If you guys have been down to Ottawa Beach and seen the marina, you've probably seen Ben. Definitely made a name for himself in that area. The reviews at our little marina has been tremendous. So much so that we've got some repeat transient slip users that will go to Saugatuck or go up to Grand Haven, and they'll spread the good word about our little marina in Ottawa Beach and talk about Ben. And we've actually had some of the municipal managers from these other marinas come down and meet Ben and to see how we're doing things because they heard such good things about that area. So definitely, these guys are out there every day, making it happen. So definitely wanted to recognize them. They're both retired teachers, so they definitely bring that teaching passion with them. So it's great to, they're not only helping the park users and taking care of the services, but they're really helping our employees and our new hires every summer, just teaching them and guiding them. So they've been a great asset. So
Cool.
anyway,
Very
that's all I
nice.
had.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Jeremy joined our team in 2020,
Something like that, yeah.
something like
It'll
that.
it'll
And
be 5 years in November.
so, and luckily, these guys behind us, they really, having them here on a consistent basis, year in and year out, is one of the reasons, Jeremy's been so successful. So the Lakeshore definitely is one of our zones where it's a whole lot for one supervisor. So, we want these guys to keep coming back every year. So thanks, Paul. Thanks, Ben. So really appreciate it.
Perfect.
Well, we definitely have some beautiful lakeshore parks, so thank you guys very much. Any other questions or comments about the operations report? No? Okay, thanks, Jeremy. We will move on to planning and development. Kurt?
All right, you have my report. There's really only one thing you need to know. The Stearns Bayou
It's
Bridge is open. Yes. Yeah, what's that?
It's open, okay.
It's not two-way, it's one way, but it's lighted, they have lights on each side. It's working great. I wish they would have done it 2 months ago. It would have saved a lot of aggravation, but it's working great now. And so I'm happy about that for sure.
Hey,
Other
Kurt-
than,
Kurt, what did you learn about paving the bike path along, Green Street? Because we were kind of wondering why they weren't working on paving.
well, that has been a big topic of discussion, and he told us, right, that he has hired some additional help from other companies to keep it going. The new deadline or the completion date is November 13. He says he can make it.
For the entire
Yeah,
trail.
I doubt that.
Wow, okay.
But if he does, they're gonna try to do the western part, try to get that paved here. It could be paved in the next week or two, and then they'll keep working east. So we'll see
Okay.
if that happens or not. But getting the bridge open kind of took the pressure off of people being frustrated. Even though, I was hoping to have the bike path open by now and enjoy this fall. But anyway, so that's going ahead. Ottawa stands, we're still plowing forward for it's 1 month from today is the official grand opening. So things are looking good for that. And then I did put a couple pictures in there. We finally got the Grand River Park repaved with the road commission. Just so you know, we haven't done this type of process before, and we're going to see how it works. We may want to do it again. It's much less expensive than repaving totally, and we'll see. Hopefully it works great. But we got it restriped. We got it all laid out better. There was some layout problems on there too, so we got that all fixed. And this park is getting more use. Since we built that trail between Grand River Park and Grand Ravines, this lot gets a lot more use than it did before. So we're happy about that. All right, I'd answer any questions.
I was just at Grand River Park a few days ago and did that segment in between that and Grand Ravines. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice paving job. And I saw Bob's Last Bridge too, or the
Oh, Bob's
boardwalk.
Last Bridge, that's
Yeah, we
right.
decided to name that Bob's Boardwalk.
Okay,
so,
good.
Yeah,
Good.
very nice.
And now,
Nice project.
now we're getting to the colors. I'm guessing that it's going
Mhm.
to
It'll
get
be really
busier.
pretty.
That's
Those
one
are
of the things Aaron's, data about visitation really showed is that the use carries on because this is the time when there's such great weather,
Yeah.
right? And so that's just going to help with that.
Any questions about Kurt's report?
Just had one related to pavement. If you have any kind of inventory to kind of know, like, because it looks like part of that work was more of like a chip seal kind of surface treatment.
Yep.
Something that you do, after 10, 15 years.
Yep.
Just curious if that's, part of your inventory, if you kind of have like a knowledge of any kind of evaluation or just,
Yeah,
did they
so,
consult with you on that, like the road commission or?
well, I asked, we thought this might be a good approach for that. And I contacted them and they came out and looked at it and they said, yeah, this would be a good application. Because the surface is actually quite old, but there was no potholes or anything, right? So that means the structure underneath is good. So to seal it up good again, yeah, it should last for a good long time. But I could show you how we inventory all our pavements, and then I have it set up so every 10 years I have money allocated to do something, and then in 20 years to kind of probably rebuild the whole thing, right? So
Just not to take over too much, but just, expressing that, in Ottawa County, we have one of the best road systems throughout the state as you compare across other counties, and they do a lot of preservation. And so I just think it's, good working together in that
Yeah.
and
yeah,
share
we
that
hope this
learning.
works because it could work some other places.
Awesome.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we will move on to community engagement report. Jessica.
Just a few things that I'd like to highlight. On Monday, my recreation and wellness program lead started. Really, really excited to have her on the team. Her name's Tabitha Corlett. She is an RN, so that's a very interesting experience. She's also a local forager. So yeah, we're just excited to see how we can expand our learning support. We also had a new Curling Tech Center intern start, Lucy Berghorst. So that's a high school student. As a reminder, that's a program that OISC has with the county to try to create a pipeline for students to work in government service sector. So she is our third intern through this program. And we've actually hired on the last couple that have been through. So it's been
Nice.
really great. They come directly to us from the environmental field studies program. Which we know the instructor for that. She's also amazing. A couple of things. We have an interim parks brochure that's been printed, which is many years coming. But really what I want to highlight about that is another partnership we have with a teacher at Jenison High School. She has a program that she calls an internship program, but it's more internal in the classroom. She's bilingual and she does translations for local organizations. And since she's fluent, she kind of serves as that double check to make sure it's all right. So we'll have our first Spanish brochure printed.
Oh, great.
And with their support, and then they also will be translating the Ottawa Sands interpretive signs. So it'll be our first set of bilingual interpretive signs as well. Again, all done in partnership with students.
Great, wonderful. How long is Lucy going to be
Lucy will be here for the school year.
for the whole school year? Okay, good.
And she's an afternoon student, so if you are at the Nature Center between 12 and 2:30, say hello to her.
Nice.
She's the Zealand East student. And then last thing, and I'm sure you've gotten all the emails from us, but yes, October 17, 4 p.m., Ottawa Sands grand reopening. We're really, really excited. Happy to answer any other questions that you might have.
Any questions for Jessica? Allison?
Just a really quick one. Under your goals and objectives, it says May 2025, nearly full already. Can you,
Yeah.
is that like
okay,
your-
that's super exciting. So we offer field trips, outdoor education program, school field trips, and our May calendar. So last year we had a program every day, at least one program every business day in May, and we are filling up that calendar already. So what will happen if we fill up at kind of our typical sites, we'll start looking at other sites, and then we'll have to kind of go through probably bringing on some other additional outdoor educators. We've done a few things different this year. We tried to hold Hemlock Crossing for larger groups because that's a park that can take 100+ students, and then try to do our smaller, 1 or 2 classes out at Great River Park because that's a much smaller facility. We also started doing, in addition to Rendezvous, which was formerly our living history program, we only offered that in the spring. We're still doing that in the spring. We're also doing that in the fall. So we're keeping everybody really busy processing all the school requests. And last point here, I'm sorry, I'll stop talking. Tabitha, our recreation and wellness lead, also has a connection and experience in the homeschool community. So we didn't even realize that when we interviewed her. So that is potential coming, because that's somewhere we can improve also. So we're really excited to bring her on and get some ideas for that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Nice. Other questions?
Just a comment, your list of press releases and links. I just looked at the Ottawa Beach Hotel, and not being originally from Michigan, that was quite an eye opener. I knew there was some history there, but that was major. And this, anyway, appreciate those links. That's pretty helpful to dig back in some of those things.
You should go down there. We have a big kiosk that outlines not outlines, it gives all kinds of history on the hotel.
Yeah.
It's right along the main walkway. If you haven't seen it, it's
Yeah.
worth looking
Yeah,
at.
it would be
I've
really,
seen
I have a project in mind. It'll take kind of a particular volunteer, but we have so much cool history information, and we love to figure out how to get that online. So it's a little easier to find, but just making sure we have it all formatted for web and kind of working through that. So someday.
Yeah, thank
Spread the
you.
word.
All right, thanks, Jessica. Natural Resources Management Report. I don't see Neely here. Is
She-
some
she-
gonna,
Yeah, I had some time off today, so happy to try to answer any questions anybody has, or we can connect with Neely if there are any questions.
I have a question because I don't know anything about forestry. What does DBH inches mean?
So diameter at breast height. So
Oh,
it's, if you, right, I think it's about 4 feet up or so. So you try to consistently do it at that height.
okay.
So that's essentially the standard.
That number vary though?
It's been,
Yeah.
Somebody said about 4 feet, so
There's a range.
4 feet.
Plus or minus.
Yeah,
Plus or minus.
the smart aleck in the group.
well, so the diameter will change, obviously, but I think it's right. I think it's 4 feet. It's been a while since my forestry classes, Lucas, so.
You're talking about what person would be
Yeah, it's like-
standing next to it.
If it's Yao Ming or
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I appreciate, that was a new term on me, so that's,
But I think the point is, Jane, just to do this, most trees kind of go like this. So if you
Mhm.
do it at that height, it's where it's consistently
right.
a diameter, not way down low where it could be very wide. That's why they do it that way.
Yeah. Yep.
We're collecting seeds on Friday, if anybody cares.
Seed collection on Friday.
At
A big
Hemlock.
opportunity, huh? That's always a fun day.
Mhm.
If it's dry, well, if it's wet, they won't do it, but. Any other questions on the natural resources management? I know it's been a busy, busy summer. Probably going to be a busy, busy fall, so, okay, thanks. We will move on to the development report. Glenn?
We had a really good month in August. We had 44 individual gifts, which is on par from what we've done in years past. But if you look at the year-to-date figure of 836 gifts, that were well ahead of prior years. So we're happy about that. As a percent of our annual revenue goal, once again, we had a very, very good month. You can see that in the last couple of years, we've really haven't even broken the 0.5% mark, but we're up over 6% this month, and 66% of goal to date. And so that puts us right on par to finish out the year strong, because the end of the year is always our biggest season. So I think that we will exceed our goal. And then our average donation for the month was $495, which is well ahead of prior years. And year to date, we're at $277, which does not compare very well to the $5,632 average gift of years past, but that's because of a couple of very, very large six-figure gifts that came in 2022. So at 277, we're ahead of where we were last year, so we're happy. We did confirm support for the Rosie Mound project at $200,000 from the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation. We're very excited about that, and we're at 30% of goal for that project right now. Ottawa Sands, there's good progress on the day use restroom in the last month or so, and it will be ready in time for the grand opening on next month on the 17th. Also out at Ottawa Sands, work continues on the tree houses and the yurts to some extent. Item Explorers Village, siding and roofing is complete, and the interior pine walls and ceilings are also in progress. The final site work around the treehouse area is also in progress. So that is my brief report.
And you have had groups out there.
I did.
Just recently, right? You might want to mention that.
We have been doing outreach to our neighbors along North Shore Drive and North Shore Estates Road and giving tours to folks that live out there. We want to make sure we keep the lines of communication open with those folks. And like any good neighbor, we want to just be aware of their interests, their concerns, et cetera, et cetera. So we've been happy to do outreach with them.
And we did get, not to take your report, we did get another grant today. Am I right?
I did hear today that we got a $25,000 contribution for the project at Rosie Mound from the
Miller Knoll.
Thank you, Miller Knoll Foundation.
Oh, great.
So we want to thank them as well.
Good deal.
Great.
Glenn, do you anticipate, with our event out at Ottawa Sands in October, do you think we'll see a little bump maybe in donations after folks come out and take a look and kind of get re-excited about that park reopening?
I certainly hope so. I can tell you this, is that, when residents of the neighborhood come out and see what we've done out there, everyone is just overwhelmingly positive about it. Everyone is very, very excited about the work that's been done. They think that not only the item at Explorers Village, but also the loop around the lake it's attractive, it's accessible to everyone. They see the work that we're doing on the lake to make it more natural, for lack of a better word. Previously, it was just a sand pit that it was filled in without a lot of wildlife. So we're doing things to make it more ecologically sound. And everybody, I think, is just very, very excited about it. So to your question directly, yeah, I hope that the people will want to contribute to that project.
It'll be a good opportunity.
And I would say too, because Angela's been working on this and working with all of us on bench sponsorships there. So we actually added a whole bunch of bench pads. There's 25 or 28 spots, and I think half of them are sponsored now, or at least that.
Or more.
18.
more.
18. Okay,
18
so
or
it
28.
changes daily almost. So
It really does. In fact, we had 3 after we did our tour for the neighborhood. We sold 3 of those benches that week.
I think the ones that are still for sale will be marked at the events also.
right.
Yeah. Any questions for Glenn?
I'm just happy you're back.
Oh, it's good
Yeah,
to be back.
welcome back.
Thank you.
Came back for one of the best seasons in Michigan.
Exactly.
So,
Couldn't miss it.
yeah. All right, thanks, Glenn. We'll move on to the strategic planning report. Jason, you were just going to give us a quick verbal update, I believe.
So we've been working with the various divisions on mapping out kind of the preparation work to lay out planning for each of their kind kind of departments, with the intent that then we correlate that with the Parks and Recreation Open Space Plan that we'll work on in the upcoming months, and to lay the foundation then for our levy renewal next year. So we had an all-staff this past month, all-staff meeting. So we did a strategic plan. We put together a PowerPoint, so Jessica and Riley and team. And so got some really good feedback from staff, like on areas to think about kind of as we present those to the various stakeholder groups. And then last Friday, took the opportunity, the foundation had their board meeting. So we invited people to stay around afterwards, and I presented it there as well. So, and then we'll be working with getting it out. So I still need to get it on the Board of Commissioners schedule for next month. And yeah, so plugging right along. And then hopefully we'll work with coordinators to update their monthly reports. We'll see if we can get that implemented by next month to align with directly our strategic initiatives as the projects go. So.
Any questions for Jason? I know we're going to be looking at the staff reclassification issue in a little bit that's associated with the strategic plan. So appreciate that update. All right, we will move on to committee reports. First up is executive committee. In Kelly's absence, I'll just give a quick verbal update. We met and looked quite extensively at the staffing request and reclassification scheme. And finance and policy has also looked at that. So, that's had a lot of input and eyes on already. Talked about the agenda and sort of our schedules. Kelly is out of the country right now. I'll be out of town tomorrow. That leaves Linda as our officer in charge. So I don't anticipate anything big coming up, but sometimes that happens. So any questions? Okay.
I'd just say be afraid, but
Yeah, well, I think you can handle
I
it.
don't know what she has planned.
No, it could be nefarious. All right, we'll move on to planning committee. And Lucas, did you want to?
Sure.
I know you left early. It looks like you left early.
leave early,
But
definitely.
anything you want to highlight?
Sure. I think what's, we talked about the strategic plan, and as what's, I think, been exemplified already and throughout this agenda and the process is that the implementation of the plan is moving along. And that's, some plans get made and then they sit on a shelf, but it's really nice to see that all the effort that's gone into the plan, implementation is moving ahead. And of course, the rec plan is next on the list, so that'll be in 2025. So that'll be exciting, and as everyone probably knows, that plan's got to be done in order to qualify for Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grants and a plethora of other ones too. The Consumers Energy, the Campbell plant, that's, I think, pretty self-explanatory, and the discussions that are happening out there with the township, I think, are exciting. Hopefully that'll play out to kind of mirror what the residents of the township are looking for too, with more natural areas and so on. Otherwise, I think there's no other surprises there. I'm talking about Ottawa Sands and Rosie Mountain Master Plan, and yeah. So, any questions? Happy to answer them or try.
Okay. Any questions for Lucas or the committee? A lot going on.
Mhm.
So, all right. Thanks, Lucas.
Yep.
Finance and policy. Linda?
Yes, we did talk about a mobile sauna. Actually, it was somebody that wanted to bring one in, and we talked That was an interesting discussion, but we talked on a broader scale about what does it look like maybe down the road to have businesses come in and use the facilities? We don't do a lot of that now, and there are good reasons. But as we change the model at Ottawa Sands, what does it look like down the road? So we talked a bit about that. We talked about the Grand Haven Area Visitors Bureau. We mentioned that last month as well. I think it's going to be on, we'll be talking about it next month for a final kind of agreement to join them or not. We wanted to get some feedback from corporate counsel because there's a little bit of a twist in there. So it's not a big deal and we're going to let the experts manage that. We talked about the fund summary as of the 5th of September. We also talked about the strategic plan and the realignment of staff and our concern in finance and policy is not how Jason managed his staff. It's about finding money for new positions. So we opted to stay out of the where people will go to do their jobs and let him do that. And we'll find the money for the new positions that he would like to add. And then the Rosie Mound expansion project agreement, we're just working that out with the Parks Foundation. Questions?
And that's also on our agenda later on.
Later,
So,
right.
Yep.
Sir.
So I would like to, Brandy Mitchum is here with us today. I'm not sure if everybody's had a chance to meet her, but she's our budget analyst. So she helps, I work with her, if not daily, multiple times a week. And she serves as financial support for all of our staff and our tie back to fiscal services department. So,
She
they've been-
makes money sound easy when
Yep.
it's not.
Yeah, so.
All right.
Any questions?
Any other questions? All right. Next up is Ottawa County Parks Foundation. I don't really have anything to add. I was not at the meeting on Friday. So Jason, if there's anything that needs to be highlighted, feel free. Angela did send out an email today about the benches at Ottawa Sands. They are going like hotcakes. I think there's maybe 10 left. And they're at very, nice intervals around that loop and other areas as well. So my guess is that the open house will probably sell a few more. And that's a really nice program, both for the foundation and for parks users who want to honor someone or memorialize someone. So just again, another reminder, the foundation's annual meeting is October 9 at 5 o'clock. You are all invited. We will be welcoming a couple new board members and saying goodbye to a board member. So if you are free and you would like to attend, you are cordially invited. Jason, anything else from the meeting that needs to be highlighted? Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Quick question, Jane.
Yeah, Angela. Or Allison.
When people have their names, when they get memorialized on those plaques,
Mhm.
do they stay there indefinitely or does it
I believe
ever
it's a
like?
10-year.
We actually added language to, and I think the life expectancy we say is 10 years. So it's funding to support that bench and recognition for the average life expectancy of, a bench. And then we added that, made sure that that's added in there.
So let's say the life expectancy is about 10 years. Do we reach back out to the person who has had that memorial, that bench in the past to see if they want to do it again? Or does it just fall off and then?
I don't know if we are at a point yet where we've had to replace any that
Mhm.
we put in.
Okay.
So to be clear, it's not that every 10 years you turn those benches over. It's
Right,
when
that
they
was
need
just
to
the
be
approximate.
replaced. But 10 years is kind of the average. So we let people know that. But I think that's a good question,
I
Is
do, yeah.
that something that the foundation should take a
They
look
would,
at?
and I think we would so we would keep an inventory and then we would let folks know.
Yeah.
And so this was probably 2.5 years that we transitioned our commemorative and memorial bench program over to the foundation. It's an opportunity for folks who want to make donations to build a connection with the foundation. So originally that had been managed in-house through park staff. So it's a kind of a collaboration between Angela with our Parks Foundation and our ops staff. So
Well, I'm going to make a note of that though, because I think that's something, as these benches get older, that we will need to, address. And I know our family has a memorial bench to my brother-in-law up on Mount Pisgah, and that's something I would like to keep going, so that's a good question. All right.
I just have one thing to add. It has to
Yep.
do with Friends. Their annual meeting is tonight. So if you were a Friends member or not, it's at 5:45 at Pigeon when we get done here.
And we're going to make it.
Mhm.
We'll be there.
That's
I
exciting.
mean, we're going to make our meeting to allow for that. So,
Mhm.
okay. Any other questions about the foundation? All right, we will move on to old business. And our first item is the item Explorers Camp Revised Business Plan. There is a suggested motion included in the packet. And so if we could get that on the floor, we could have some discussion and ask questions about that.
I move to accept the revised business plan for the Itemized Explorers Camp at Ottawa Sands.
Thank you, Roger.
Support, Bush.
Thank you, Joe. Okay. Jason's not here, but Jason, anything you want to mention?
this is relatively, we tried to keep provide the background there. So this was approved in July, as we, discussed it at the July meeting. It didn't include reference to that deposit language. So that's been incorporated, and it was included in the summary there of that language. Also, we clarified, split out the future assessment. So to make sure that was clear in the business plan. And there was one thing that hadn't been removed, that we had discussed at one of the finance committees about early or late arrivals. So that was cleaned up as well. So happy to answer any questions.
So this went through finance and policy, both from the finance side and the policy, and it was just minor tweaks to concerns that people brought up at that meeting in July.
Allison?
I guess I just have a question of if there was a reason why we're doing it now instead of waiting until there's a final decision made on the marketing. Because are we going to have to come back and do this again for a third read through?
Well, it just splits it out so it's clear where that is. So we would likely then allocate that amount for marketing in-house. If that makes sense. So
So it'll come back as a separate
I think when
address that.
I think that when we'll figure out how to cross that one. We can adjust the business plan likely and address it if we don't do the agreement with the Visitors Bureau.
I think one of the reasons we wanted to do this is before we start renting those yurts and tree houses, to be able, to have that language about the security deposits very clear.
So,
what's going on.
sorry, and maybe I didn't articulate it. So that money had already been in the budget. We just separated it. So there's $2,500 for marketing and then that estimated 2%. So I believe that had been in the previous version. We just pulled it out separately. So we, easily point it out.
I also,
So it doesn't get lost.
I also think it's there. If we don't use it, we don't use it. If we do it, it is already in there. So we could leave it blank depending on what corporate counsel comes with.
Okay. But let's say that we didn't end up using the and I'm not saying we will or we won't, but if we don't end up using the Grand Haven Areas Visitor Bureau, will we have to come back to revisit this business plan if we choose to do something else for marketing?
Well, so this is our guiding document. It's already, that feeds into our budget. So it's included in the overall operating budget as well. So I think that
I think the money would be there already. Where it gets split out would be the key. So we have money in there now for a certain amount. But if we didn't use one or the other, like we decided not to do it in-house and let Grand Haven do it all, we could just move that money off that line item.
Okay, and it's not, I read it all today, but I was trying to remember if it specific, because it addresses the Visitors Bureau in our business model. And that's, I guess, why, because we haven't actually sealed the deal on that, I guess that's my reason why I'm having this conversation, is it is listed on page 50 in our packet or page 8 of the document. And it will change this if we choose not to go that route. Am I wrong? And like, I guess maybe I'm not understanding,
Well,
but that's how
I
I
think-
interpret it.
I think that, but we would just roll automatically into staff taking on that role of doing that marketing. So we would come up with an internal plan for what that marketing would be and likely try to stay within that.
And I
budget
understand
number.
that. I'm just
Yep.
saying, how we're voting right now with this one, or what we're accepting, is the business model, how it's worded in here, correct? And right now it's worded, right? That,
So I think what you're referring to is just the paragraph under marketing where the second paragraph, currently we have a 2,500 marketing budget specifically for IEC. This will be used mostly for in-state marketing. We will also be assessing 2% of each stay for the Visitors Bureau bed tax. The Visitors Bureau will market our facility nationwide. A review of marketing initiatives will be completed after the first full year of operation. So
Yes.
that
Is it-
suggests that it's a done deal. When in
correct.
fact, we're still waiting
Yep,
for
exactly.
Corporation Council to weigh in on that. So,
Right.
Yep, that is my, I guess, concern. I feel like we're jumping ahead a little bit, but
well, let's see what the motion says again.
Just to accept the revised.
So to accept the revised business plan, which doesn't mean we can't revise it again.
Right. And it is meant to be a working document to give overarching, right, guidance on how we're going to operate it. But I would say every year we'll go through and analyze it and then report on those goals and adjust as we see necessary. So I believe that marketing, so that page 8, that language was in there previously when it was approved. I think what was the revision was just making sure in that budget line item, it was very clearly called out that where that number was. So
I hear you.
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah, me too.
I think the thing is, I think the assumption is corporate counsel is okay with this. That's sort of what Jason told us at the finance and policy meeting, that it's just a matter of them
Well,
sort of. not
so
that-
I think we would come back with we would sit down with our community engagement folks and come up with a plan to do that marketing outside of our local area, and review that,
and then when
probably
it
with
come
our
back,
community
Then we
engagement
would have to
committee.
come back and take that out. If you're right, either way, we're going to have to come back. If we decide to do it, we're going to have to come back. Or if we don't do it, we're going to have to come back.
I don't think it's a big deal to come back and revise it again. You know, if it's meant to be a living document, it's a business plan and it's a new business for us. So,
But you're right.
It doesn't really say grant, at least in that paragraph, it doesn't say Grand Haven Visitor and Convention Bureau. It just says Visitors Bureau and Bed Tax. I mean, it
would be the only-
insinuates that.
It would be the only Visitors Bureau in
That serves
the,
that
in the area
market.
with a bed tax.
I guess I have a question. If for some reason we paused on this, is there anything that you can't do in the meantime with using this as a business model?
No,
Can we just wait until,
We hear from them.
that would be my suggestion, but maybe it's more of a formality. It just, I feel like how it's written is it's, once you get past the summary and you actually get into the document, to me, the document seems pretty clear cut, like this is what we're doing. And because we're making changes to it, anyway, I'll stop. So if anyone else, that's my perspective, but
Sure.
if anyone else has anything, that's, I guess, where I'm.
I don't have a
Currently.
problem if we decide to delay this a month.
I think that and again, I think that there will be times where we realize that we need to, right, there are going to be changes in the way we approach it. And I think, so I hear what you're saying. I think if on this one, we'll come back. It's fine to leave it as is, or if you approve it, we know that that's an outstanding item. And if we, for some reason don't elect to work with the Visitors Bureau on that, moving forward, we'll come back with a revised.
Because it's in there already. We already approved it.
We've already
Right.
approved it. We've already approved this
So if we don't do
verbiage.
anything,
Correct.
it's still there.
Right.
This was just trying to
Correct.
clarify.
The
I
revised.
see.
Yeah.
Yes, it was just making it more abundantly clear in the spreadsheet portion where that money was allocated, so it didn't get lost
Yeah.
in case we do need to,
Yep.
right, pivot.
So given the fact that we've already approved that language, is there any more discussion about this motion that's on the table? Or questions?
I just wasn't Johnny on the spot in July, that's all.
It's all right to, yeah, point that stuff out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to accept the revised business plan for the Idema Explorers Camp at Ottawa Sands. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it passes. And then in the future, if we need to revisit it, we certainly can. We have a couple of items for information only. Next is the September 2024 grant status report. So this is something I think we do quarterly, correct? Okay. Aaron, anything you want to highlight?
I mentioned that we might get our grant scores this month, and we did, and they're all looking good and put us in a good position for December. So there's one trust fund development grant for the Eastonville Connector, and then two land and water grants, one for Bass River segment that the DNR submitted on our behalf, and the Upper Mac Ottawa Greenway Trailhead. So we're in a good position. It's not a slam dunk, but we thought they'd be competitive, and actually all three are potentially better than we expected on the scores. So those are, all I can tell you is in past years, those were good enough scores to get funded.
Okay. Well, there's a lot to keep track of here. Questions, comments? Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that'll be in December.
Okay. Yeah, again, when we get these reports, I'm just,
Amazing.
yeah, it's amazing how many funding streams and grant opportunities that we take advantage of. And I know it's a major job to keep it all straight. So thank you. This is, I think it really underscores how broadly we are supported. So it's good to know.
Could I ask you a question? Those three, are those the first three have listed on your document here?
Those are, yeah, those are on the pending applications. Yes.
So the Upper Macatawa, the Idema Explorers Trail, and the other one on Idema.
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll know soon. So
Okay. Great.
any other questions?
I just second your comments about the return on investment that we have here in Ottawa County and the parks and the grants, and managing all of this is not easy to do. So I do think sometimes, and that, or maybe it would be great if we could exemplify that a little more to the public. And maybe that's coming up with the millage renewal and, like Ottawa Sands, when you shared some of that information about how much actually came out of the millage funding or what have you, and showing that ratio of grant dollars and donations, and it's like I don't forget what it was. It's like every dollar we spent, it was $10 that we brought in, and donations and grants. And those numbers, I always think that's what the millage does for us, right? It's amazing. And so, like I say, when the campaign kicks off for the millage, I'm sure we'll look at those numbers and share those with the public more and say, this is what.
And it's
what
the
we're
incredible
doing.
natural resources. We're all just so lucky to live here. And so it's those trust fund and those are all competitive grants. So a lot of time goes to Kurt and Aaron, right, evaluating each of those. And we try to anticipate what they would score at a time, and then kind of prioritize the ones then. But a lot of it's because of where we live too. So, yeah. In the millage, obviously it wouldn't happen without the millage, right? That gives us the ability then to have that funding in conjunction with the philanthropic community.
Sure, absolutely.
So we have a general idea of our grant history. One of the things I wanted to get done for the strategic plan is there's a report in the strategic plan on the visitation. Have a similar report for a capital investment history, which we'll still develop and have charts, pie charts for all that that can be used in millage renewal information. So we're near like 100 million in capital over the life of the park system. Of course, that's going back to the 90s, so it's not inflation adjusted. It'd be a different project. So it is more than, over the whole history, it's more than 50% has come from outside of that 100 million.
All right, well, thanks for, these updates are really inspiring, I would say, and useful. So thank you. Any other questions? Comments? All right. So we will accept that as information, and our next agenda item is also for information only, and it's our monthly visitation report. So that's also Aaron, and we've got some stats on that.
So this was just to give you an idea of where we might head. This is going to go to planning committee and community engagement to refine it. Just coming out of the numbers going into the strategic plan, want to show that kind of what's possible. But this is really just the raw numbers and trying to give you some context for the past usage. One of the things I think we need to do is kind of set up goals for these, because we don't have, these are measures, but we don't necessarily have a goal of what we're trying to achieve yet. So that'd be helpful. And that could be an ongoing discussion with our strategic plan implementation and with those committees.
It looks like, there are more parks than not that have seen higher averages than.
In that month, yeah, it's
Yeah.
for that month, and you can see those months against the average months in last year. I think, and if you had comments before the committee on stuff you'd like to see, please just email me. I don't think we have to discuss at length today.
Will you just give a quick overview on how you get those numbers?
So in this case, we've been working trying to gather visitation data as a project for a while. We do have traffic counters out in the parks. Those are physical, like one's magnetic for vehicles and one's one type, and then another type is infrared for trails. The accuracy is kind of dubious, especially compared to each other. So as a trend over time, those do add up. Like you have it at Grand Ravines, and so you can compare Grand Ravines counts to itself because it's been in there static, but it doesn't, So as we were investigating it, we found that there's these mobility data services that take anonymized cell phone location data and other things. It's even car data and stuff like that. That is either in the case of one vendor was sold by Google and Apple to those vendors, and then they anonymized it and did algorithms to get, like, it's not like there's a panel of visits, that they extrapolate from, or they have agreements with the apps to do it. And so it turned out that we had Streetlight before. It had some issues, partly because Apple and Google started doing opt-in instead of opt-out for that, and that messed up their system. Placer had agreements with apps, so they weren't affected by the opt-in. So that was 7 years worth of data that was apples to apples. This is used by, I think the government is a side business for them. Their biggest business is like Walmart or McDonald's, or if you're a franchise, they have a lot of, because they have this origin data that they provide where visits are coming from in general. Yeah, we can export by, it's like you see it by census block, not by an exact. I have no idea other than a general census block where when you do the location origins, where they're coming from. So it's just a really powerful way to track that and see over time and compare apples to apples, not just with another advantage with the Placer of the Streetlight is I can compare it also to other facilities like Grand Haven State Park, John Ball Zoo, Millennium Park. So anything in the state of Michigan. So it's it's amazing for what we're paying, what we're getting out of it, and considering that corporations make, major corporations make big business decisions off this kind of data. It's helpful for us too to have the same kind of access that corporations might have. But I think there's other things for consideration for like strategic impact or other divisions to benefit from it if they wanted to. But if we continue our subscription, we have a 2-year deal with a 1-year an option next spring to re-up with this. And I'd recommend it just so we could keep. I've been putting in our grant applications that for Rosamount, they ask for outcomes, and it's an increase in usage at Rosamount if we expanded, an increase of time spent, stuff like that.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. We'll move on to new business. And our first item is the staffing request and reclassification associated with implementation of the strategic plan. Jason, I'd like you to give a quick overview of this. You included lots of detailed information, but let's get a short presentation and then let's get a motion on the floor so we can ask questions. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
So today I'm asking for authorization to work with HR and the county administration to create several new positions. So a natural resources management specialist, operations secretary, GIS intern, and then a coordinator of visitor and business services. So it also, the organizational chart just maps out some realignment of current positions, and then there would be reclassification of 2 positions as well. So reclassifying our operations manager to a construction special project supervisor and reclassifying the parks planner to a project data and grants manager. So happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well, let's get a motion on the floor with a support so we can discuss and ask questions.
Well, finance will make the motion
Okay.
to accept is.
Linda? Do I have a second?
Second.
Where'd that come from? Roger, thank you. All right, we have a motion and support on the floor. So anybody have any questions on what the plan looks like? Finance and Policy did take a close look at this and had a good discussion, as did the Executive Committee. It looks like bottom line is Jason's asking for a budget adjustment of $194,233.21.
I like the 21 cents part myself.
21 cents is a nice little, just the, yes.
So I'm just going to, when finance and policy looked at this, I'm going to again say, we did not look at how Jason is aligning his staff. That's his call to make. We're not in the business. We did not feel we were in the business of telling him how to run his current staff. So this was about adding the new positions. He was pretty, we were pretty clear on where the money could come from and how the money would continue to come. And I think we were, Roger, wouldn't you say we were all pretty supportive of that?
Yes,
Oops.
agreed.
I just lost it. Yeah, and the color coding was really helpful to me because some of this involves just a sort of a reorganization of existing positions. And the brand new positions, then it's easier to see what the brand new positions are. And, we're really happy to see, there's a lot of sentiment about beefing up the natural resources management department, and that's happened. So with the Ottawa Explorers or the Idema Explorers Trail or Idema Explorers Camp coming on board, some of those new positions will be real key in that. But any questions or comments or feedback
Okay,
on
this
this?
is, this is where we are now, looking to the future, and especially with our investment with the Idema Explorers Camp. I think as we, go through the process to implement our strategic planning, and then talk about that millage renewal in 2 years, where we are. We certainly will continue to talk about what resources staff need to do their job in the field. As we close out the fiscal year and look at how we settle out the fiscal year and follow up, we'll do a debrief with operations staff and see where we are. Jeremy mentioned earlier, we adjusted, seasonal staffing. That helped. It's the second one we've done since we came out of COVID. So I think this is a foundation for now. And then, the goal and our senior leadership's team is then to make sure we stay in touch with staff and provide them the resources to do their job. So.
And one thing that maybe you could just clarify on the motion, the action request is this money is not in the budget, and we would be taking it from our contingency fund.
Yep, it would be
correct?
the unencumbered, unappropriated fund balance. So there would be a budget adjustment to cover those, the expenses. And that was an estimate on my end. So we'll work with HR and they'll help do all of the, and there's a process that, this is where we see the positions classified. HR and the administration will have to approve all of that. So,
And you've had some preliminary meetings with HR and they're supportive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. But this is the first step, and then move it on to them.
I'll just make a
Yeah,
comment
Paul?
that with the expansion of our parks and the continued enhancement of services, this is an important undertaking. And it takes a lot to think through all of this. So I really want to give credit to Jason and his team for going through the mechanics of the behind the scenes effort that went into laying all this out and thinking through it. It's very important. And it's positioning. I support what you've done, and it's positioning the Parks Department very well for the future.
And I think
Also-
that,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jason.
well, no, so as we, especially that new visitor and business services, the intent of that is to help, move some of the workload from what's currently underneath operations. Jeremy and Jason did an amazing job. They were the authors of that business plan. One of the things I've said as we go through this process, there's going to be overlap. So, operations is still going to be supporting all of these facilities. And the thing that I've also said to supervisors, if there's functions or parts of their job that they really enjoy that are part of that, we want to make sure that they're still involved, right? Or have that involvement. But this gives us that hopefully added capacity to make sure that we've got folks in positions to keep the eye on the ball. So.
Allison?
Just to echo, I think some of the other comments, I really appreciate. First of all, the summary request was very detailed. It made sense. I also appreciated the wording put in there about you kind of paused for a little bit during 2022 due to budget concerns at that time and allowed the strategic plan to happen. You can tell there's a lot of forethought that went into this. And so I'm supportive of this myself, so.
Anyone else have a question? Joe?
So Jason, quick question, and I'm supportive as well. But is there any projects coming up where the contingency might be needed on something that's, needed for next year? If you're taking money from the contingency, do you see anything popping up that you're like, "Ooh,
No,
okay."
and the one thing that that we'll make sure, and especially as we close out the fiscal year,
Yeah.
right, this month, we'll look at how that impacts our fund balance
Okay.
this year. And then we try to look at where we are at
Oh,
the
for
end
sure.
of the levy. So,
Yeah.
it's an increase this year, but then we'll add that to our long range budgeting. So, the understanding is that's you 195,000 for this year and next year. And so we'll apply that and see where that goes. No, I don't think, I think one of the things Brandy and I were looking at, if she's still here, we're looking really, really good for fiscal year 24.
24.
And we've, and as Jeremy talked about, we've had actually record motor vehicle permit
Yep.
sales the past couple of years. So, yeah.
Roger?
And I just wanted to comment too, I think, recalling a lot of the conversation about the Idaho Explorers Camp. And, we had kind of a conservative model for revenue for that. I think, that's going to be a popular location. I think we're going to exceed, the revenue that we'd planned. And this organization kind of helps set the stage for success in that delivery.
Yeah, good point. All right, any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. Our next and final new business item is the Rosie Mound Expansion Ottawa County Parks Foundation Project Agreement. You've got the information in the packet. Jason,
I'm just going to make the motion.
okay, Linda,
as
is your
written.
vote, yeah, okay. Motion to approve is submitted. Do I have a second?
Second?
Allison, thank you. Yeah, did you want to say something, Linda?
This is just to formalize and memorialize and make this the way we do business from now on with it's basically with the pass-through money that we get with the foundation. So if you read through the document, this will be how we do business for all of these kind of things in the future. So it's nothing new. It's just more structured.
Yep.
As we grow, we need to be more structured.
Foundation has been a great partner.
Great.
And
It protects them and us.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
both ways.
So the Parks Commission, to remind everybody, we formed an ad hoc committee, evaluated projects, multiple projects. Parks Commission then met with a representative group of the foundation. We identified 3 projects. The foundation then took the initiative to do a feasibility study. And out of that, we started this fundraising initiative for Rosie Mound. So then the Parks Commission, did a formal request for support to the foundation and they accepted it. So this is, hypothetically, if we would have had this agreement in place or prepared, we would have done it at that time just to lay it out. But now with the major leading gift from the Grand Haven Area Community Foundation, it was appropriate to go ahead and get that in place. So.
And this is contingent upon approval of Corporation Council, but I think you've been in communication
Yep.
already and.
Yep, and that was initial, so we had initial review with council and we're just waiting to get some feedback. So I think we got that this week. So we'll find, and it was really nominal, so nothing major. We'll finalize that agreement and make sure the foundation's good with it, but then we'll send it off to the Board of Commissioners for consideration.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we will take that to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the end of our business items. So if you have any agenda items for next meeting, just let Jason know. This meeting will be in October. We now have a second opportunity for public comment. And so is there anyone in the audience who'd like to say anything? Okay. And again, if you are watching via YouTube, you can submit your comments in the chat function. All right, we will go around for Commissioner's prerogative. Bruce, I'll start with you. Anything?
As far as the Idema Explorers Camp, I really appreciated, just a comment, appreciated the marketing comparison of yurts and all that. It's like, whoa, who would have thunk it, so to speak? Where, I was aware of a couple of them, but it's nice to know that it looks like there's quite a gambit of the different things they offer, and there's quite a difference in price and a lot of different criteria that they have, amenities and things like that. It's kind of nice to know what's out there. So,
And I think we started that first draft probably a couple of years ago. The project's taken a little while, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny, since the initial draft, there have been several of more of the glamping style that have come on board that were really a good comparable so to use. The goal will be, that's kind of our barometer. Everybody's kind of on the same page. This is how we're trying to operate it. And then we'll each year try to evaluate on those goals and objectives and adjust. Yeah. So thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Roger, anything?
Just pleased with all the work that continues to go, and you have such a high standard for whether it's planning and, performance operations. Just keep up the good work.
Linda?
I'll just second that.
Okay. Nothing from me today. Allison?
Like Jane, I was at the Grand River Park this week as well, and the pavement, I agree, it looked
Isn't that
very
nice?
well, very
Awesome.
good. And it was being well used, I would say, the trail system by others as well. So
Joe?
No, I would just second what Roger said. Thank you to the staff and all the planning that goes into everything that we discuss. It's very thorough and thought out. So thanks everyone for their hard work on everything that you do.
Mhm.
I'll fourth that. I think that maybe that's but I think this is the only organization that I've been, involved with at this level. But thinking about other counties in Michigan and how I think this is the best, but I don't really know that for sure because I haven't really been around or involved, obviously, or whatever. But so I'm just curious in how, if we're the best performing parks organization in the county, countywide in the state of Michigan, at a county level, that's what it feels like to me, and it's just something that we should celebrate more. And I'm making an assumption, right? But it's really great to be part of this. And so the other things I had to share was I didn't know, are we naming the cabins or numbering them, or is there something going on with that? Is that a lottery?
So
They're
How's that?
I think we have
shuffling around.
names. I think we have names for the
Oh, they
the
do? Okay.
tree house. So we didn't have no cabins, Lucas. I don't know
I'm sorry.
what
What did I say?
development that we have somewhere. We're building some tree houses and yurts. So, but
Right back
yes.
to you.
So, but the tree houses, I believe we have some names. We would have to go back or
Yeah,
maybe
I
Kurt.
believe they're the eagle, the blue heron, and the kingfisher.
Oh,
Nice.
They're
nice.
named after
And-
birds. That's request of the donors. Or
Yep.
Donors representative.
And then, we had some preliminary early on conversations about naming the yurts in line with some of the historical, figures in our community. We decided as we embarked on the interpretive plan in conjunction, why don't we just say yurt 1, yurt 2, and through yurt 5, and then once we have that interpretive plan done, we'll lean on it and then tie that directly in with the naming and then incorporate some of that interpretive information in each one of those
Nice.
yurts. So
I'm a big fan of Awashtanong, the native terminology for the Grand River. I think that's really cool. I don't know if we get through that process.
well, and I'll tell you, staff really we could have done the 5 Great Lakes. There were some really good ideas. I think, as we work with the family, the donors, I think we want to try to incorporate some of that interpretive stuff. So, yeah.
So my last plug is October 5th there's a North Bank Trail fundraiser at the Red Barn.
Good shed. Yep.
So that is I forget what time it is, but I think it's at 7:00 on October 5th. So if you're interested in that.
Is that up in Spring Lake?
That's Kate Terpstra with the city of Coopersville leading that charge.
Mhm.
Okay.
With the Friends group, and kind of helping, on the side of that. So
Is it the red shed? Is
the Red Shed?
that the one?
No, it's
Little Red Barn.
Oh, in Unica?
yeah.
Yeah.
Cleveland
Okay.
there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yep.
I heard Red Shed. It's over on.
Yeah, 2 different
Yeah.
places, so.
So
Cabin, red sheds, come on, man.
It's red.
I get nervous.
Can you have Kate send something, or is there like a RSVP or?
Yes.
or-
We'll get it and share it with commissioners.
There's a ticket sales.
Okay,
that's
It'd be great
happening,
to have
so
something come
I'll-
out.
I'll make sure you get that information.
And we shared that on Facebook. We were gonna do that too.
If we haven't, we are looking at it. Riley was doing lots of post scheduling when I was leaving.
Lucas, I will make a little plug. Next spring, there is what's called the Special Parks District Forum. And it's a very good, I've gone to several of them where you go and visit another park system and see what they do. Next spring, it's in Metro Detroit, Oakland County. I think is one of the major sponsors. Usually they do it with some other groups there. That would be a good chance to see, because we consider Oakland County a pretty good, they're one of the more progressive park systems and very good. And we talk back and forth with them fairly often. So if you're interested, that might be something you want to see how we stack up against one of the better ones in Michigan.
Right on.
We're still better, but yeah, it's still worth
Of
looking
course.
at.
All right, Paul, anything?
Nothing else to add, thank you.
Okay.
Just one thing. So go ahead, Jessica.
So we have coming up our service appreciation dinner that everyone is invited to. It's a local honor and people who work on Ottawa County Parks as in Parks Foundation and Friends as volunteers. So there's a number of people that will be honoring. That is Tuesday, October 22 at Pigeon Creek Lodge. I do not have an exact time yet. It will be dinner though, and we'll make sure that an invite goes out to everyone once that is finalized.
We'll recognize our parks commissioners and the service that they provide also. So
Okay.
this is we're kind of expanding our volunteer recognition event to incorporate it as a service.
Very good.
Is that the third Tuesday? Is it? Is it the evening? Is it in the evening? Okay.
All right. We've reached the end of our agenda, so we will go into closed session to discuss property acquisition. And do I have a motion to do that? The public can be excused, and staff, thank you for coming. Appreciate that.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Linda?
Support Bush.
Joe? It's been moved and supported to go into closed session. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Thanks.
All right,
Can I
thank
say
you.
no too?
No, you can only vote one way.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. We have to do a roll call for that.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a roll call. Sorry.
Say yes.
He says yes.
Okay, all right.